Hello, welcome. My name is Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and today I have three alternate cards for you, three different card ideas from the June 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit, which was called Full of Charm. So the original kit makes 9 cards. The cards in the kit, just how they are. I don't know if you can see my son's hand in the corner there. He snuck in there. He's been hanging out with me in my office while I work sometimes. So here we're going to start with the first card, which is, I'm going to call it the Hugs card. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm making alternate cards is cut the card bases in half. This is a totally standard thing for me to do. And what I'm showing you here are two, they look like label dies, so they could be used as labels or layers. These are actually brand new. They're from the Fright Night dies or the Fright Night bundle, which is going to be available July 1st, 2025 as part of the online exclusives launch for July. So you'll be seeing these dies from me a lot because I absolutely love the shape of them. But here I'm taking half of a card base. This is the back of the floral card base, which has this like gold foil splatter pattern to it. And I'm cutting 2 of the smaller label size. There's 2 of them in this particular set of dies. And I'm creating basically a pattern with it. So you could do this vertically. I chose to do the layout horizontally. Give yourself about maybe a quarter inch. You could even say 1/8 of an inch if you want to, on the edges, on the top and the bottom. Just give yourself a little bit of room. Card bases for paper pumpkin kits, I would like to give it a little more space. And now here, I wanted to do a quick reference to the other dies that I'm using, which are from the Hugs ABLOOM dies. The Hugs ABLOOM dies are actually the add-on dies that you can get in the online Stampin' Up store. Item number 166238, and that has that hugs word in that really pretty scripted font, and it also has that sentiment tag, which, or I should say the sentiment shaped die there, which we're also going to be using quite a bit. But in particular, I wanted to pair it with this kit. So you guys probably remember, and if you know the name of this flower, shout it out to me. Really, really beautiful layer, but I just wanted to do something a little bit different. So here I'm showing you which stamp I'm pulling from the Paper Pumpkin Kit. I'm actually using a Berry Burst card base, and I'm using Berry Burst ink. So this is a tone-on-tone stamping for card 1, and actually I do it for card 2 as well. I'm just going to stamp 3 of these. You can stamp them wherever you would like. I just wanted to have something visual in the background, and this is actually one of the, like, we could call it a design note from Paper Pumpkin, because they actually had us do this on the original cards. It was just we were using Pretty Peacock instead. Now I skipped a bit. I skipped ahead a little bit, and I added the Stampin' Dimensionals because, just for the sake of time in the video, we don't need to see every single little, you know, dimensional added. Now for this layer, because I put that flower die cut on dimensionals, one side of this top layer needs to be on dimensionals and the other side needs to be flat, so it's not uneven when we put it on. This is the new Petunia Pop Iridescent ribbon that's going to be coming in the Spooky Sweet Suite. That's also going to be released on July 1st, and you're going to be so surprised how beautifully it matches this Paper Pumpkin kit. So I'm just removing the backing on some of these dimensionals, but you can see one side has dimensionals, the other side does not. And that's so that when we put this down, we have that even layer. I usually just take a little bit of oh my gosh, Stampin' Seal. I usually just take a little bit of the Stampin' Seal or Stampin' Seal Plus, put a tiny bit on the back, attach the back of the ribbon, you know, to it, and then run it across the layer in the front. So that's all that I did there with that as well. For my sentiment, I'm going to do the hugs sentiment. I did a little pointing to the leaf piece that comes in that particular set of dies. We're not going to use it on this card, but we are going to be using it on the next card. So that's Mossy Meadow right there. You could probably see that I cut some of those out in it, you know, in advance. Now, speaking of Petunia Pop, I just went ahead and grabbed my Petunia Pop. This is the light in the Stampin' Blend. And this is a go-to thing for me. I love to do this, particularly when they have these little perforations or these little outlines on the dies, to try to give it some color coordination or to kind of separate it out from the background, the card background. But you can see the way that that layers over top that splatter pattern where we cut in those two label dies, where the flowers are peeking through, but we still have, it's kind of broken up a little bit instead of just seeing all flowers. We sort of have a little bit of a combination of the two. So I thought that it was really soft and pretty and floral. And then we have that, you know, that burst of color with the berry burst card base and then the background stamping. So like I said, this is Mossy Meadow cardstock. I'm just taking a little bit of the liquid glue and just kind of tacking some of that glue onto the back of that, trying not to make it too messy. I usually do that with, like, you know, pieces of scrap cardstock. I'm going to tie a ribbon with the iridescent ribbon. This is actually really easy to tie, and it is the most beautiful ribbon in person. Wait until you guys see it. I'm going to be using this one a lot because I'm going to be using this with the Spooky Sweet Sweet as well, but I couldn't resist using it with the card today. Now, I am going to put this up on dimensionals as well. If you do not want this much dimension on your card, of course, you know, don't worry about it. But I don't mind having all of the dimension. I love having dimensional layers. So I'm just going to go ahead, tie a bow. It's going to be a little bit of a side bow there. And then we're going to finish this card with the matte gold sequins, the adhesive back sequins that actually came in the Paper Pumpkin kit. So the one thing that I was trying to say before I got started with the voiceover was that, when I do alternate card ideas, alternate card suggestions, sometimes I stay close to the kit and sometimes I really kind of do my own thing. In this particular video, I'm actually staying close to the kit for the most part. We're using kit pieces, we're using the coordinating add-on dies, the Hugs Bloom dies, and then I do add in a few other items. So the iridescent ribbon, the Fright Night dies, totally optional, right? But wanted to just try something a little bit different. So this is the first card. That's my first alternate. Hope you like that. And then that card in the upper left was the original from the Paper Pumpkin kit. So if you prefer the originals, don't feel like you have to make alternates. This is just an idea for other things that you can do with your kit. I would say particularly if you're looking to add color, or if you want to start adding in some tools, some die cutting, you know, things like that. Now with this piece here, I cannot imagine doing this kit and separating those pieces. I just don't want to. I think that this is genius what they did here with this layer. I think it is so beautiful. So I'm keeping it. I'm keeping these two pieces together. But basically what I'm going to end up doing here is turning this into one gigantic fussy cut piece. Okay. So I am sticking with my little adhesive dots from the kit. I do think that with some of these intricate, pieces, these laser cut pieces that they provide for us in the kit, that sometimes the adhesive dots are the best choice in terms of adhering it. And this is one of those cases. It's really easy to put these on the back of those leaves. Now, I specifically chose not to fussy cut until this piece was added, because it makes it significantly bigger. You'll see here in a minute. And it does matter which way you position it. And if we were to try to position it from the other side, it would actually come off of the edges of the card. Isn't that interesting? So you can see how much further out it extends out once you add that layering piece there. But um, I'll be honest with you, making the original card is absolutely fine for this. Don't feel like you need to do this. But what I wanted to do was play with the die cut leaves, really make this flourish, like almost like a summer garden where it's in its peak season, right? It's full bloom, full color, because it's called the Hugs Bloom Dies or full of charm, right? Like that's sort of the concept there. So when we do have these extra pieces to work with, when we have the dies and things like that, we can do things in multiples very, very easily. So if you like a lot of layering, if you like rich textures or colors, I wanted to add a little bit more of Pretty Peacock to the alternate cards. So you'll see two card bases in Pretty Peacock today in this particular alternates video. I even sped this up and it is still taking time. So just being totally honest, in real time, when you're fussy cutting something that has this much detail to it, I'm doing a rough fussy cut, which means I'm not spending too much time getting it perfect as I'm going around the flower edges and the leaf edges. But it does take a minute. It takes some time to cut that out. I know that people, there are some of us out there who absolutely love fussy cutting. I'm in that category. Oh, and real quick, if you're making a card base, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I scored it at 4 1/4, and I'm cutting it at 5.5, and that gives us two card bases at 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So typically that's what happens when I'm making card bases. Sometimes I do top fold, which would just be reversing those measurements. But for this, we're going to do open, the regular open card there. Okay, so you can see the way that this pops against the floral piece, right? Like the floral piece just seems so much more bold to me when it is behind the Pretty Peacock. Now you can decide what color you want your leaves to be. You could make them white, you can make them gold, depending on if you want them to be subtle or if you really want them to stand out. There are actually four of these. So four of the die cut leaves from the Hugs Bloom dies in Mossy Meadow. In person, to the eye, it is very easy to see those. Like to me, they stand out. But if that's too dark for you for a background, because I realize that for some that could be dark, I think it could be really fun to do gold leaves or to do white leaves or like a lighter green. You could do lemon lime, the lemon lime twist. Those would be really beautiful as leaves on this. So you can decide. Now, one of my absolute favorite things to do with paper pumpkin kits, particularly the stamp sets, is make backgrounds. Um, you could do a very simple background where you're only stamping a couple of these at the top and a couple of these at the bottom. Because that piece that we just cut out is so huge, we don't need to worry about what the center looks like. So I'm more concerned about what the outer edges of the card base look like here. And again, this is tone on tone. So I'm literally just using the Pretty Peacock ink spot from the kit. And if you want to stop there, if you want to stop at 3 or 6 and just kind of have them in the upper corner and the lower corner, you're good. You can see it. It gives some, background to it. I wanted it fully covered in this sort of leafy branch. So I wanted to start coming in on the edges in the opposite direction. And I felt like that really added, it really gave it just a great bold pattern to it. So once this dries down, it's not as bold because it is tone on tone, but you would never know, to me, you would never know that it's just cardstock there once we add that background stamp. And one of the things about these paper pumpkin kits is that so often with the 3 cards that we do get that are designed by the paper pumpkin team, they're beautiful, but they don't always feature all of the stamps. We might just be stamping 1 or 2 stamps per card. And typically we get like 6 or 8 stamps in each paper pumpkin kit, and we want to be able to use those and demonstrate those. So here I am back with the adhesive dots. I'm not going to show myself adding every single dot to the back of the leaves, but that's what I'm doing. And then you can pop these leaves in as few or as many as you want. I like more. I do. I like more. I really wanted this to be flourishing. So you can decide what you want there. I am going to put the very large piece up on dimensionals, so it's going to give it some space between the die cut leaves that I'm adding here. But it's just like leaves on top of leaves on top of leaves, and I just think that that's so cool, because I think that that's exactly what we get when we're outside in the summer. So here I actually decided to add 1 leaf on this little at the bottom or at the base of one of the sets that I put in, because it was bothering me. It wasn't quite sitting right when I would put the large piece over top. So I was like, I'm just going to cover it with another leaf. And so that's what I'm doing there. So I'm putting the rest of the leaves that I have left, the other 3 leaves, right behind that sort of notch in between the leaves there. You'll see it in a minute when we flip the card around, but I wanted leaves to be coming out of every possible angle of this card. And so here you can see it goes tip to tip. It pretty much stays within the card base. We're adding those gold sparkle sequins again, which I really feel like they stand out so beautifully against the pretty peacock background, against the berry burst background. I thought they just really had wonderful like presence and shine to them. And now for the last thing, you guys can decide how you want to do this. I actually pulled the happy birthday and I used the die cut piece from the kit that has these little pretty peacock edges on them. So still using the pretty peacock ink, the happy birthday, right? And I actually love that particular happy birthday sentiment that was in the Full of Charm kit. So I wanted to kind of go lower corner there and make sure that all of the flowers were not covered. So I covered some of the leaves, but not really the flowers. And I love the way that this card turned out. That was the original that has the white background, and then here's my alternate. So you guys can decide if you prefer the light background, just make the card as is from the kit. Don't feel like you need to do that. But I really wanted to experiment with that, and I was really happy with it. Okay, so this is the larger label die from the Fright Night dies. And what I did was cut the card base in half. This is that more geometric pattern. Cut it right out of the center. That's going to become a layer. I'm going to trim 1/8 of an inch off of each side of this layer. And that's just so that it kind of gets framed in a little bit by the Pretty Peacock card base. I really wanted Pretty Peacock to kind of be peeking out of this particular card. So we're gonna do some layering on this one. Now, as I say this to you, the Full of Charm refill is now available in the online store. I'll put a picture up to show you what the refill looks like. I'll probably do that closer to the end of the video. I'll do a reminder before I end the video, but I'm actually just using my Seal Plus because that's what I happen to have on my table nearby, but the regular seal would have been absolutely fine for this too. And can you see how beautifully that gets framed in there? I loved that look. Now, there are so many variations on this that you can do. On the original card, you just use one of these large leafy branches. I'm using both because I want it framed in basically. And I'm going to layer the tag back in again. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to see this pretty peacock in the middle of your card, go for it, right? You do it however works for you. If you like to, do some heat embossing, use your white heat emboss or your gold heat emboss against the pretty peacock in the center, and that would be absolutely beautiful too. But this is definitely one of those kitchen sink cards where we're just using all kinds of die cuts from the kit here. So this diamond die cut was like one of my favorite design elements from the Full of Charm kit. And I wanted to stick with the same stamp. So we're doing the Let's Celebrate You. I'm still using the ink spot from the kit, the Pretty Peacock ink spot. I'm doing the diamond stamp just the way that they did on their card, but I'm just adding to it. So changed out the card base, made the card base a layer essentially, using 2 instead of 1 of the leafy pieces. And then I'm going to add in this tag as well and try to preserve the geometric pattern, especially like in the center of the card. See that? So it all ends up tying back in together again. I thought that was beautiful. I had so many different ideas for how I was going to handle adding that back in. I thought about taking the Stampin' Blends and Pretty Peacock and kind of like with a ruler, just kind of going through those lines and everything. There were so many different ideas that I was thinking about playing with. And in the end, I decided to leave it alone and just let the diamond kind of show. And I am going to add the flowers here as we finish up the card. So on the one side, I went lower, and on the other side, I went higher with the multicolor leaf pieces. Now you could do your flowers top and bottom just like this, but I decided to kind of offset mine. This is the Mossy Meadow leafy branch from the kit, and I just cut it in half. Just find a point where it looks like a natural cut and then cut it. We're going to do one branch in the lower corner, one branch in the opposite upper corner, and then we're going to do that same exact thing with the Pretty Peacock branch, which you can see sitting right next to my scissors right there. And we're going to do exactly the same thing in the other 2 corners. So you can decide how you want to arrange this, but again, layer upon layer upon layer of leaves and the geometric pattern here, and we even have some pop of floral. If you don't want the pop of floral in the geometric card, then just use those little flowers for something else. But I ended up I love this card. I really thought it was going to be my least favorite, and I love this pattern. I had a lot of fun with this one. So you'll have to let me know which one you like best of all of the alternate card ideas here. I really couldn't decide. I liked them all, but we are coming to the end of the video here. So before I end this, just a reminder, the Hugs Bloom dies, the add-on dies are available in the online store. The Full of Charm Paper Pumpkin refill is also available in the online store. You need to be an active Paper Pumpkin subscriber to purchase add-ons, refills, and past kits. And we have 3 really fabulous kits coming up in July, August, and September. So this was my first Paper Pumpkin alternate video back in a while, you guys. I had done a couple of unboxings, but I hadn't quite gotten back to alternates. So I felt this is from the Floral Charm Suite. So these particular embellishments that you're seeing here, the shimmer ones, they're going to be, I think they're called like Shimmer Charm or something like that. They're going to be available with the July 1st, 2025 online exclusive launch as well. And I'm being pretty generous with the petal pink embellishments. I wanted to show you the braided jute, but decided against using it. But it would have been a wonderful textural addition to the card too. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next video, and I'll have information on my blog and in the description box if you are interested in subscribing to Paper Pumpkin. They are such a value for what you get, and look at how you can extend these cards. All right, see you soon.